right, well, here we are again, Zach. We find ourselves in front of these old microphones and telling stories and trying to entertain each other.
That's right. That's right. Number 6. Episode number 6.
I like that you keep track because I forgot.
You forget every time. We're only at number 6.
I know, but I can't keep up. Because we I don't know if this is a secret, if we should or should not tell this, but sometimes we record these, a few of them back to back.
That's right, we do. Yeah, if you watch it where you can see us on YouTube, you'll notice we have the same clothes on and multiple podcasts.
That's true. And there's a good reason for that. I live about 45 miles from here in Murfreesboro. Zach lives north of Nashville in the sweet little Madison, Tennessee.
Y'all come to Madison.
There's a house for sale.
There's a house. Well, yeah. There's lots of houses for sale.
Yeah. So anyway, when we get together, we work on things, business things, and try to get a podcast or two or sometimes 3 in the box. So we were going to have a friend of ours come on tonight with us for the first episode, and he had to postpone until possibly next week.
Yeah, that's right. Our first guest.
We won't tell who that'll be, although he knows because he's one of our faithful listeners apparently. And speaking of which, got to give a shout out to my brother and his wife and their friends listen to this podcast. They watch it. How weird is that?
It's weird that anyone watches this.
It's really weird, yeah. But they do, and I told them I'd give them a shout out.
Cheers.
So,
cheers to that.
That's right. Thanks for listening. And since we gave you a shout out, now you have to spread the word.
Spread that word. Mm-hmm. Hey, speaking of your brother, I remember the time that we went down to old Louisiana and shot my first gun.
Oh, that's right. My Uncle Troy's house.
Yeah, Uncle Troy's house.
Yeah.
We all hung out with James Wesley in the band.
Speaking of, you know what? I'm going to tell a story.
Yeah.
About that trip I think you might know this story.
Okay.
And I don't care who knows. Because it's not crazy or anything, but okay. So just backstory. We were on tour, Zach and I with James Wesley. We were out for, 3 weeks or something like that, right before Christmas.
Yeah, it was a while.
And we had a day or two off. The tour was all through the state of Texas. And obviously, many of you know, Texas is huge. And the way they did the tour was it started way in Victoria, Texas, which is way south of like San Antonio. It was 18 hours away.
That's where the hurricane went through there.
Well, did
Harvey,
it?
yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And you would start in Victoria and work your way east, kind of northeast, and like make a little half circle. And the last night of the first leg of the tour ended in, it was either like Tyler, Texas or Texarkana, Arkansas.
Oof.
Somewhere right around in there.
We played both.
We did play both, but I can't remember which was which. But it doesn't matter. So we played there and we had a couple days off. Well, our manager, Tom Chaney, and I are from Louisiana, and Tom said, let's go over to Shreveport, stay in a nice casino for a day or so. Right?
We stayed in a riverboat.
That's
casino.
Right. Yeah, we stayed. We stayed at. I think it's like owned by the Horseshoe. I think.
Sure.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. Well, I had called my uncle, who lives outside of that area in a little backcountry area called Elm Grove, outside of Shreveport, and told him we'd be coming to town, and said, "Look, how about we come by and hang out?" And he said, "Well, if you're going to do that, I'm going to throw a little party. We'll cook some steaks and get a lot of adult beverages and things, and have a bonfire, and we'll have a big time." And of course, my brother and his wife Megan came, and we had a big time. Now, we can get back to my brother and stuff here in a minute, but the story goes, so we while we were there, we ate dinner in the house and all, and if any of you know my uncle, he's countryer than a stick in the mud that's been there 100 years.
Oh, yeah.
And he collects arrowheads, Indian arrowheads, and Indian artifacts, and he has a humongous collection. In fact, years ago, Hooper got to see him because we were also staying at a casino there once in Shreveport with Frank, and Hooper and I went over
to Troy's house.
Yeah, we just hung out.
Nice.
Nothing as awesome as what you guys did, but
yeah, it was awesome.
But he got to see him.
We did it big.
We did it big. It was a lot of fun, and it was 2 days long. So so we hung out, and James went in the house, and Troy showed him all of the arrowheads. And
Yes.
James was fascinated. He was blown away. So the plan was, my cousin Tony said, "Look, we'll take, because there's a lake. Man, I know I should remember the name of this lake, and I can't remember it off the top of my head. I'll remember it.
It's a dry lake, right?
Well,
Dried
they
up?
had lowered it
Oh,
a lot
okay.
because there was some kind of vegetation infestation that they had to get out, and they had to lower it, and so a lot of it was dry, and there was a lot of Indian tribes in that area
Right.
hundreds of years ago.
Sure.
So when they lowered it, Troy went in there with his stuff, and he found tons of stuff,
Right.
like old pieces of mohawk and all kinds of stuff. He's fine. He finds everything. He found a cabin once in the middle of the woods, old cabin, and in that old cabin was all kinds of stuff. And if I remember this story correctly, it was either like in an old, like they used to carry gunpowder in like these horns.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I don't remember if it was a horn or like a bag, but he found like Confederate money that had probably been there
What?
since the Civil War.
That sounds like something out of Lost.
Oh, dude, he finds wild stuff.
Oof.
Anyway, so he had found a bunch of Indian arrowheads at a Lake Bistineau is the name of this lake. And at a particular point in that lake, there was an area. And Tony said, James, if because I said we had 2 days there, James, if you want to, we'll go dig arrowheads the next day.
Yeah.
So you probably remember it.
I remember that.
Not everybody went, I think, but
I didn't go.
you didn't go.
Did you go?
I went. But I couldn't remember if everybody went back to Troy's and then only a couple of us went over.
Maybe that's
actually dig.
Maybe that's what happened.
All right. Well, before we go, Tony pulls me aside. And the way they would do this is they would take like coffee cups and they would scoop out the soft dirt. And on the back of the four-wheeler, the rack was like a grate.
Yeah, they would filter
And
it.
they would sift it through.
Sift it through there, yeah.
So rocks and,
Mm-hmm.
and then if there was nothing there, you throw it away. And you do it again. Like painting for gold almost.
Sure.
Tony says, I've got one of Dad's arrowheads, and I'm going to plant it.
What?
Do you not know this story?
Tell me the
Okay.
story. Tell me the story.
Well, I knew that I swore to secrecy because it would hurt James's heart, but now I don't care. So, so he says, I'm gonna put this in a certain spot, and I'm gonna tell James to go dig over there,
Oh
and
man.
he'll find it. And I was like, whatever, sounds awesome.
Sure.
I was kind of mad because he didn't plant me one, because I don't have an arrowhead.
Right.
Like even Uncle Troy wouldn't give me one.
Damn, Uncle Troy.
Oh yeah, he's awesome. But I knew that it was a big deal for him to get an arrowhead, and I'm not even 100% positive that he agreed to this. Tony may have just took one.
Oh, Uncle Troy didn't agree. Maybe.
Well, maybe.
You don't know.
He was a big James fan, still is, I guess.
Yeah.
So we go out there and we park the four wheelers, and it's getting dark. I remember that. And Tony, he's probably 15, 20 yards away, and James is in the middle, and I'm on the far side.
Yeah.
And we're just digging.
Digging.
We're looking.
Got your coffee cup.
Oh, dude, James is jacked up, son.
Woo, I could see him being real fired up about
Yeah.
that.
Well, Tony
His
gets
eyes going back and forth.
Tony gets it planted, and he's digging. He says, "James, man, I tell you, come over here. Daddy found some real good ones over here one time." Okay. He goes
It
over
sounds
there.
like a movie.
It could be, yeah. He goes over there, and they're sifting through, and he finds it. And
What
dude,
does he
he's
do?
fired up, like jacked up.
Yeah.
Of course, I knew.
You knew it was a plant.
Oh, he was a plant. It was a real arrowhead. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, no,
Oh
I
yeah.
but yeah.
And then we get back to my Uncle Troy's, and he's jacked up. So I think Troy actually took it and made him a necklace.
Now I remember that.
Yeah.
Did he gold
Put
plate
some,
it?
Put some gold around it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because what Troy does for a living is he works at a dentist, not a dentist office, but they make false teeth. I don't know what the term is.
Mm-hmm.
And they also do fillings and different things.
Yeah.
So he melting gold and all that's not a big deal.
Yeah, he does with that. He deals with that a lot.
So make a long story short, which is pretty much the end of it, but James had this.
I remember him having it.
Oh yeah, that he was proud of because he thought that hundreds of years ago, 200-300 years ago, however long, some ancient Indian left it, and it stayed there until 2010, December 2010. And the reality is, it was placed there by my cousin,
My cousin.
and so it had been in the
Tony?
ground 5 minutes instead of 500 years or whatever it was. So
I don't know if I ever knew that. I knew he had the
I don't
necklace.
think
and
you
knew,
did, because only Tony and I knew that it was fake.
Yeah, I knew Troy made him a necklace out of it.
Yeah, and that makes me think that Troy probably didn't even know, but now he knows.
Now you know.
So Tony stole one of your Arrowheads.
Now you know.
I also remember my brother, because see, Tom was just dumbfounded at the idea of hog hunting.
No, Tom Chaney, yeah.
Yeah, that you could take dogs into the woods and hog hunting. I'm not going to get into it, but it's a pretty brutal type of sport.
Yeah, it's vicious.
Very dangerous and vicious. Yeah, That's a good word. So Justin brought his picture book, basically, of all of
the hunts.
The hunts, yeah. And showed them to Tom at the casino one day or night or something, and maybe the second night we were there. And still to this day, nearly every time I talk to Tom Chaney, talked to him last week, he always asks about my brother. How's your brother doing? Is he catching any of them hogs? I said, no, it's not that time of year. But Tom remembers all those people that we hung out, and we had a big time. I remember sitting out by the fire, and you got to shoot your first gun. So you had never shot a gun that day.
No, never shot a real gun. I mean, pellet guns and this and that, but never shot an actual gun. And the first time I ever shot.
So tell me about that experience.
I mean, it was fine. Like I watched James do it. I watched you do it. I think.
Yeah.
I was the semi-automatic part caught me by surprise just a little bit. I mean, I knew that was a possibility, but I just didn't know that was semi-automatic. But it was. And first time I shot, took aim, kapow! It's on your YouTube. That Coke can flipped up in the air about 3 or 4 times.
It's on my YouTube?
Yeah, hit that mug.
Oh, cool. We'll have to watch it later.
Bullseye.
Your first shot was a bullseye? I don't remember that.
First ever shot.
Wow.
Yeah, with a gun. Yeah, that was pretty cool. But then I missed like 5 times after that. And
that's okay.
But it don't matter. We'll just cut that part out of the video.
Yeah. That's what we do the podcast. If something really sucks, we cut it out.
That's right. That's right. Also, I believe I rode my first
horse
real horse.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a pet and zoo when I was a little kid horse. But yeah, that was pretty fun, you know.
Yeah, man, that was a long time ago. That was around. 7 years ago, wasn't it? Yeah.
At least.
It was December 2010, so just shy of 7 years.
That was a really good tour.
You know, that was the first time I'd ever been on a real tour. Well, you too. I mean, we played
lined up
together.
and touring with other bigger acts.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I learned a lot. So there's 2 big memories that stick out of that tour, and I think you and I share the same. One of them are the same. I remember walking into the venue for sound check at the very first gig of the tour in Victoria, and in like a little small arena type of civic center or something.
Yeah, it was like a civic center. It's pretty big though. And
Josh Thompson's band was headlining, or he was the main act, and he wasn't there, but his band was sound checking, and they were playing this song. I think it was like an artist song, or I don't even remember what song it was, but I remember them playing and no one singing, and so you could really make out the parts that everybody was playing. And it wasn't that they were just sounding good. What they played felt so good.
Yeah. They were just locked.
They were locked in. And that's the first time I realized, and that's not even the big leagues, like looking back now, what I know about the music business and far as that goes, but in my opinion, especially at that time, in my mind, that I was like, holy crap, this is it. These dudes, this is where I got to get to.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I was there with you. We had the same experience, like you said. You walk in, and they're just blasting through. They feel like the dang record.
Yeah.
It sounds like the record with no singer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably better than the record.
And it was 4 dudes. I remember bass, guitar, drums, and I guess another guitar player, I think.
Yeah. And I remember thinking, we got a long way to go.
Yeah. That's very
we're not
true.
worthy.
No, man. And not to take anything away from Josh Thompson, but I mean, the reality of it was he's not and was not a huge artist.
No, he was mid-level.
Yeah, so it wasn't like, he had the best band in the world behind him or the most experienced.
But the thing about that experience, and while I was kind of intimidated, the thing that I tried to keep in the back of my head when we played with them, we played 10, 15 dates with them or something, was as long as we play our parts correctly, we don't have to try to be big and fancy or whatever, just play the songs correctly, then we'll be fine. And that goes for any musician out there, anyone. It doesn't matter what you're playing, not what part, doesn't matter what instrument, doesn't matter what band you're with or what singer you're playing for. You play for the song and you play for the group, and make sure everything is, simplicity is better 9 times out of 10, as long as you're doing something that helps the sound and not just shows off, because you can ruin any song by trying to be a big time player.
Well, and by the same token, it took me a while to learn this, but I did it during those times with James, especially the first year. It wasn't that I was showboating or anything. That had nothing to do with it. I was learning, and actually one of the guys was in the band, Joey Hydegate, said this once, and it was very wise, which was odd coming from him. But he was a cool dude, but he was a wild guy, and you wouldn't expect him to just drop a nugget of wisdom every now and then. But he said, like as a drummer, he told me, he said, when we're playing a song and you're going from a verse to a chorus, or from a chorus to a verse, a turnaround, or whatever it might be, it's not that you have to play a certain part, whether it be like the record or you play a cool lick. It has nothing to do with that. He gave me the metaphor. He said, you have to roll the carpet out.
Yeah.
Especially for a singer like James.
Oh, yeah.
Or for a lot of singers. I'm not trying to single him out. But the drummer is the one that makes the transition feel right.
Yeah.
And you can play the exact same part as the record, but if you don't do it with the mindset of I'm setting the band up, it won't be as good.
No. Well, I mean that helps everyone in the band. But like you said, with James in particular, he needed the song to be laid out,
and he needed cues. He needed a physical cue
him through the song.
Yeah.
Because if there wasn't a major cue, then
we know it happened a lot.
Then it would break down, and you'd have to catch up or revamp. And we got real good at catching things.
Well, and speaking of that, one thing that I think was really awesome, we got so good at flipping the one that had we been in like a cool funk band, we wouldn't have been able. I wouldn't have been able to do it. I'm too white to just be jamming and pop, flip the beat,
Yeah.
But with James, we did it so much.
So, explain to them what flipping the one means.
Well, I mean, you're more musical.
All right,
you could probably explain it way better than I can.
Here's what we mean by flipping the one.
So I'm gonna count 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, most popular music,
1,
99% of
2,
popular
3,
music's
4.
in 4/4. So every measure has 4 beats to it. Doesn't matter what it is. Shake It Off by Taylor Swift, 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3.
Maybe I say this. So we're boom ska, doom ska, doom
1,
ska,
2, 3, 4. 1,
ska,
2,
ska,
3,
doom ska.
4. See, now the one's flipped. The
I
one's
know,
flipped.
but that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
That's what we're trying to demonstrate. Is the beat will flip to whether it's, I guess you could say, inside out.
Yes, that would be called inside out.
And we wouldn't do that on purpose, but if the singer would miss a beat, like he's counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2.
Yeah.
Then beat 4 disappears and becomes beat 1. And so in the world of like drumming and musical rhythmic patterns,
it's like having to reset your entire
the downbeat and the upbeat,
your entire
reversed.
mind. Yeah. Like everything in the world gets reset.
You know what, Zach? Put this in it. I don't even know if you take notes, but put this in your notes. Link the video of us flipping the beat with James in Jacksonville, Florida. It's on YouTube, right?
Yeah, but it's secret. But I'll put it on. I'll put it in
on
the notes
and put a link in the notes.
Yeah, if anyone out there is going to listen to this, y'all watch this video. We're in Jacksonville, Florida. I've never shown this video to anyone except for Jeremy, really, the guys in the band. We're in Jacksonville, Florida, playing this song, You Should Be Here With Me, and James skips. He
can't sue us for any of this, can he? I mean, we're not making it up.
No, this is all true. It's not. mean. It's just what happened.
Okay.
He skips half of the verse, and so we catch him within a beat or two. And by the time we catch him, he skips to the chorus, and then we catch him there.
It sounds like it was rehearsed that way.
I think he might have did it one more time, and we catch him 2 or 3 times before we finally lock into the rest of the song. The song probably lost about a minute and a half of run time.
Yeah. Well, and this is probably a very crude joke by some standards, but if a tour of music was similar to a tour of duty, we'd have quite a few battle ribbons and quite a few Purple Hearts, but we never died. Is that really bad to say?
It's probably bad, but I get what you're saying. What you're saying.
Well, so put the video on there so they know what we're talking about.
All right, I'm going to put the video in the link below.
And getting back to the whole Christmas tour thing, what was sad, really, is there was so much potential with everything that during that time. You know, Tom and I had so many conversations. He even mentions this every now and then. He says, you know, if things would have kept going with that mindset, James was in a good place.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know, he really could have done something the following year.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you're 100% correct. Like, the vibe on that.
And we were with him for 2 more years, but the following year,
everything
things were getting really good.
Yeah.
But at the peak of 2011, it went down. But 2010, the Christmas tour, according to Tom, was the greatest it ever was.
We were out there. The vibe was good. I remember getting the USA Today, and our single was at number 25. And
that was awesome.
Yeah.
You know?
Everything was just feeling good. We were, playing good, just excited to be there.
And my second memory, the thing that sticks out of my head, is very similar to your USA Today thing. That ties it together. When we went on stage for the first show, we're doing our thing. We were the middle support, direct support as they call it. And we would close the show with Real, which was his single at the time. Going up the charts. And I remember, counting it off and then playing the intro, which was a build. Da, 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 da.
Yeah.
And the thought went through my mind. I'm playing a song that's on the radio right now with an artist, a Billboard charting kind of thing. And that was a big deal to me.
That was a huge deal to both of us. I remember discussing that. That's, as someone who grows up...
A little bit of a milestone.
As someone who grows up just enthralled by the music industry and musicians and touring and... Rookie mistake over there. That being on tour was a big deal. I always wanted to be
a huge deal, man.
Yeah, but then the fact that the song was on the radio.
Well, that's right. I mean, anybody can go on tour.
Yeah,
and then now you
go on tour.
The fact that your song was climbing the national country charts, and every Sunday it was on. Mm-hmm. Especially I grew up listening to the charts. And I mean, I didn't wrote it. I didn't play on the record. We were basically in the most, when you're in that situation, you're in an extremely glorified cover band.
Oh, that's exactly right.
As a musician.
No one knows that.
No one knows that, but that's what you're doing. But that's the difference. I can be in a cover band and play songs that are on the radio, top 40, whatever. Or I can be with the artist that has that song on the radio then, and that's the way it was, and that was what was so cool.
You're not in a cover band, you're in a backing band.
You're in a backing. That's what they call it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But that was it was a great time. What's funny? I've noticed we played a lot of gigs together with a lot of different artists, and it seems to me the first year is usually an incline, going straight to the top, and then the second year, no matter what it is, things just they get different.
I could see that. Like it was that way with James.
Monument.
Yeah, before James, it was that way with Monument. With Frank, it's been a continual climb. But you and I aren't on that gig together, although we've worked on it
together, but not playing.
And I would even say the same with Red.
Yeah.
So I guess to your statement, that is a very true statement. Every gig that you've been the bass player on and I've been the drummer had been that way.
Yeah, it's like climbing.
So don't hire us because your second year is going to suck. But
Hire us for 1 year.
Ours from 1 year, yeah.
And we'll go to the next gig.
Because with Red, the first year we played with him, like that year ended with us doing some really big showcases, and there were some great things on the horizon.
Oh, man.
And then it stopped. It just stopped.
Yeah.
There was no real reason.
Right.
It just stopped. And I'll say this to that fact. Now, it wasn't the first year. It was a couple of years later. We did a showcase with Red. It was a huge band. Kyle Everson was in the band. Chris Harris was in the band. Dylan.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Oh, yeah. Down
Huge
at
band.
12th and Porter downtown.
Was Kaylin in the band? Was Kaylin in the band?
Yeah. I think Kaylin was there, too. Maybe.
No, it wasn't Kaylin. It was their friend. It played banjo and
Oh,
stuff.
okay. Yeah,
And
that's
Wayne.
right. Yeah.
Wayne, I think, played. Did he play mandolin or did he play acoustic too? I know Chris
Probably
Harris played
mandolin.
acoustic.
I'm sure Wayne played
Okay, anyway,
he
it
always
was a
plays mandolin.
huge band, and we did the showcase at 12th and Porter. Is that what it is?
That's right. Yeah.
And there used to be videos on the internet. I don't know if there still are. I had to ask my friend Ryan Taylor, who shot some of those. But as far as musicianship and the group that we were with, like, of course, it was the biggest band I'd ever been in.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as talent, that was absolute best.
Yeah.
The best sounding 6 songs I'd ever played with a group of people.
Killing them.
It was incredible.
Yeah, and we had rehearsed stuff and stuff.
And what was beautiful about it, and this won't make sense to nobody but like musicians, but when you're in a smaller band, like when we were with James, 2 guitar players, bass and drums. With Frank, it's the same way, 2 guitars, bass and drums.
Mm-hmm.
You have to cover more ground with those, especially
That's
the 2
right.
guitar players.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
the guitar players.
Yes, on a record, you may have, and even like the Frank records, we'll have organ and steel and keys and things.
Mm-hmm.
And with Red's records, it was worse because while we didn't play on those, there was way more instrumentation because he was more traditional, somewhat bluegrass.
Yeah, he worked
So
a little
he had-
bluegrass in there.
He had
The dobro.
mandolin, dobro, steels, multiple guitars. And anyway, when you got a smaller band, you got to cover more parts. So you'll have a lot of the guitar players playing licks. You'll have sometimes the bass will change a little bit of what he's playing to fill up the sound.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that you overplay, but you play more.
It's like having a conversation. It's just like us on the podcast now. We can't talk over each other. You
True.
have to talk. You talk.
But we have to talk more because it's just us two.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if there was 6 people here, then one person would have the lead, just
Yeah.
like in a band. One instrument has the lead. Well, obviously
For a
it's
certain
usually-
time in the song, not the whole thing.
And you hand it off. Usually it's the lead singer has the lead, and then you fill in the gaps. If you're say you've got a dobro in the band, and he might fill in the gaps on a certain verse or a certain part. And then the singer's singing again. And
Yeah.
maybe the drummer puts a fill in before the chorus.
Yeah, that's right.
So
Just a
y'all
little something.
y'all work together to make sure that you're not stepping on toes, and you're just
And what I found awesome about it was a little harder because you had to listen constantly,
yeah.
but it was easier. But in the same sense, it was easier because you kind of played less. Like, I didn't have to play to, like, in mind, like, okay, I gotta make sure this sounds good going in the next part.
I gotta put something here.
I didn't even
something-
have to put stuff. I
Yeah.
just would play and then play like a quarter note feel because Dylan might play a lick
Sure.
or you might play the feel.
And that's the thing. The more people you get, the harder it is, in a sense, to play. If you don't know this mindset, you have to leave that room. And a lot of young musicians don't know about that.
Oh yeah, it took me a long time.
Yeah, it takes everyone
Yeah.
a long time. You're playing by yourself for years
Yeah.
at first.
And I'm not saying I'm no pro and know everything. I'm just saying those, in a sense, what we're talking about here is lessons we've learned.
yeah.
But just when you play with a bigger group of people as a musician, it's way cooler.
It is cooler if everyone
And
is
harder.
It is hard. It's cooler and harder if everyone knows what their role is. If you stick to your role, then you'll be fine.
If you happen to have a noodler in that mix, it's a lot like cooking food. Now, I don't cook. I don't even venture in the kitchen very much unless to get my plate. But if you'll follow me here, let's just say you're cooking. You like Italian.
Yeah. Sure do. I like.
Let's say you're cooking lasagna.
All right.
And you got your pasta,
Mm-hmm.
And it looks awesome.
Yeah.
And you're getting ready to bake it.
Yeah.
And out of the cabinet, bloom, falls a noodle.
Uh-oh.
Right on top of the lasagna. Now, that noodle don't fit in.
Noodle in my lasagna. What?
You got to take that noodle out. And the reason I say this, because like in the music world, if you have a guy who just constantly overplays, playing all the licks he knows, we call that noodling.
Yeah.
And in a big band, you can't have a noodler.
No, because then there's chaos.
No. But and we've done this with Red, even though he said we're talking about his bigger band he had at one time. We've also done stuff with 3 dudes, me, Zach, and our friend Jason, who is a master noodler.
Yeah.
And that's when it's good to have somebody that can noodle. Because then he has to fill up the whole sound.
Jason's great at filling up and laying back. Especially when there's, like you're saying, when it's like a 3-piece, 4-piece.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not saying he's a noodler. I'm saying he's a guy who can noodle.
That's a dang skill as a guitar player.
To noodle good.
to be playing the rhythm and then be playing the lead and then tuck back in and jump back out. That's a tough skill right there.
Yeah.
As a bass player and a drummer, we don't necessarily need to do that. My favorite songs playing bass is when I can just groove. I'm all about the groove.
Yeah. And I became more of that as time passes. Now I would love to cut a song in the studio where I never play a fill, just the whole time. To me, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
16-year-old Jeremy would think that's the stupidest thing in the world.
Because
you got to put your Carter Beauford licks, and your Lars Ulrich hardcore backbeats in there. And if it don't sound like Metallica or something like that, then it sucks.
Speaking of Carter Beauford, just a quick story that come to mind. For those that don't know, Carter Beauford is the amazing drummer of Dave Matthews Band. Probably wouldn't fit in any other band unless it was like a fusion band, but amazing drummer.
Yeah.
And I thought he was the best when I was 16 and I was learning about music. Got tickets to go to Dave concert. In the pavilion. It was at an amphitheater, Blossom. And I bought a shirt and all that, and there's a girl there with me, and we're sitting there before the show, and this guy comes up down the aisle, taps me on the shoulder, said, "Hey, are you a member of the fan club?" I said, "Yes, I am." "Absolutely." He said, "Hey, well, you've got the wrong tickets." And I said, "What?" And he said, "Let me see those tickets." So I show him the tickets. And yeah, those are the wrong tickets. Here, I got your tickets here. He said, "Follow me."
That's awesome. And you went down. You didn't go back to the grass.
He said, "We'll walk out down the aisle, start going down the big aisle."
Before he moves, before you get to the end of the aisle, in your mind, are you thinking, "Dang, I got to go further back"? Or were you already further back?
I mean, we were pretty far back.
Or did you know what was up?
To tell you the truth, I knew what was going on. I knew exactly what was going on. I saw someone post online that said if you wear like a Hawaiian lei, like flowers, that like signifies that, I'm in the fan club. So, and I knew that they did this stuff.
And you did it. You wore a lei?
Yeah,
I didn't know that part of the story.
I wore a lei because I saw that somewhere, and so I knew exactly what I was doing, and so he moves us down front row, dead center, right?
Really? So nobody's in front of you.
The dang fence that is in front of the stage is in front of me.
I didn't realize you were that close.
Right there. Watched the whole show right there.
And what year was this?
2090. 99 or 2000. No, it was after I went to Hawaii because I had leis. So 2001, maybe 2000. Anyway,
my friend Kevin and I would have been so jealous.
Oh, yeah.
We never saw Dave remotely up close. Or me and him together didn't.
Actually, I think I did it twice.
Kevin, you should have done your research, and me and you could have been down front.
Could have been there, man. Could have been there. Yeah, I think that happened to me twice. But this time, it was the first time. I'm super stoked. I got my shirt. And I asked I ran back to my mom and I said, "Here, take my stuff. I'm going. We got first row tickets." I said, "Give me a pen."
Oh, they were further back.
They were on the lawn.
Okay.
They were just hanging out on the lawn. And so I got this pen and I got the shirt and I wrote on it, "Carter, Throw me your sticks.
I didn't know you. I knew you got it. Well, I don't want to ruin the story, but I didn't know you wrote on a shirt.
Yeah, I wrote it on a shirt. Show's over. They're waving goodbye, walking off. You know, Carter's got all his busted sticks and he's throwing them out to the crowd. And I catch my chance, and I go, Carter, and he looks, and I hold that shirt up, bah! And he points, and he laughs, and he throws a stick, and then all of a sudden, time just stopped. The stick's flipping. Everyone around me, the hands are closing in, and I see the stick. Here it
you
comes.
You better hustle.
Stick my hand out. Snatched it out of the sky.
Just like in the movies, it just lands right in your palm.
I snatched that mug right out of the sky. I got it in my house right now. Not at this house, it's back at my parents' house. But yeah.
That is awesome. Yeah, you've told me that story, not quite to that degree, but you know what? We can't top that. So I think we're going to shut her down right there.
All right.
It don't get no better than that.
Thanks for listening to Ain't No Hobby Podcast. Check out our site for more podcasts. We got them on the iTunes now. They go on podcast apps as well.
And we don't have the information yet, but we'll soon. Be on the lookout. We're going to have a new website coming out.
New website, new brand.
Some new stuff. New brand. That's right.
Going to do it big this time.
All right. Peace.
Peace.